Governor Umar Bago has drawn swift reactions on social media after announcing that all preachers in his state must submit their sermons for review before preaching. Speaking during a live interview on Sunday, Governor Bago, who had recently banned unlicensed religious preaching, took the directive a step further. He said the state government also needs to know exactly what preachers will be saying to ensure they aren't spreading anti-people and anti-government sentiments. Well, let's take a look before we take some reactions.
The religious affairs said for anybody going to sermon on a Friday, he should bring his scriptures for review. And it's normal. Even in Saudi Arabia, it's done like that. You know, we cannot say because you have been given opportunity to be a clergy, you go there and preach some gospels that are, anti-people, anti-government, and you think it's normal. We want to be able to see what they are preaching, hear what they are saying. We're working together with the security agencies, the Department of State Service, the police, the civil defense, and even the military.
I mean, this is incredible. He actually compared Nigeria to Saudi Arabia. I mean, this isn't the first time Niger State has imposed a level of oversight on public discourse. Last month, we discussed this. Governor Bago also directed the Commissioner of Police to seal off Badegi FM radio station over alleged incitement. Let me take some reactions to this story. This person wrote on X, while the Nigerian Constitution guarantees freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, it explicitly states that the government shall not adopt any religion as a state religion. It also allows for restrictions on fundamental rights for the purpose of maintaining public order and security. The legality of the governor's directive is therefore a subject of debate, but this policy is unprecedented in the level of government oversight as it introduces the contentious legislation over religious content, and this has drawn criticism from religious leaders and congregants who view this innocuous policy as an insidious infringement on constitutional protections. Another ex-user wrote, Mr. Governor, your duty is to protect the security and welfare of the state, not to intrude on people's rights of expression or dictate how they worship. Your responsibility is to ensure that regardless of what is preached in places of worship, peace and security are maintained. Have you now become a gospel police? Why try to regulate sermons instead of focusing on your core duty? Stay in your lane, safeguard the state, keep the peace, and separate government responsibility from religion. And I thought that was so apt.
That was very powerful. Thank you so much. He summed my thoughts this way, that the governor of Niger State has been majoring in a lot of minors in recent times. There are many issues in Niger State that deserve his attention more than this. Yes. When it comes to religious freedom, we've often talked about it and how free it is here in Nigeria is guaranteed by the Constitution. Unfortunately, when you start to police, as it were, clerics, and comparing us to Saudi Arabia that is an Islamic state. Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state, but oftentimes we see again and again how leaders, governors, presidents choose to police what should be freedom and a right of choice for individuals in their state. Yes. Let me give him better, in terms of other areas to look at. Let's look at infrastructural development in Niger State. Let's actually talk about empowering the people enough with education to ensure that they have a better chance at life and aspiration. Let us look at, security challenges, the bandits, and the talk around the fact that some of them is steeped in ideological beliefs or even religious beliefs. Let us address those things and not talk about how, and you know what he said? He said, so that we can check out whether the sermon is anti-government or anti-people. It is also a covert way of clamping down on free speech, even amongst the people, so that no one will criticize him or say anything that does not agree with his government or his person. We need to nip this in the bud. If not, after a fashion, Nigerians will just be docile. Whatever the leaders meet on the people is what they will accept. Right. So that he allows the people to speak freely and lets him face governance.
Section 38 of the Nigerian Constitution guarantees the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. In other words, if the government of Niger State is trying to control how pastors or clerics generally think, that would be a violation of their fundamental rights under Section 38. And a further violation is indicated in Section 39, which talks about freedom of expression. Now, I'm surprised that in Niger State, they have a Niger State Religious Affairs Department. Now, Section 10 of the same Constitution says that you cannot interfere with, there shall be no state religion. So what are they doing in that religious affairs department? And we've praised Governor Bago before.
We have.
He promotes religious unity. We saw him twice, in fact, going to churches to sing, to even
Christian
preach,
songs.
To promote religious
yes.
unity.
Yeah.
But to censor clerics will be a bit too far. Section 11, however, says, of the same 1999 Constitution, that there's something about public security, and nobody, whether you are a religious figure or whatever, you are not allowed to incite the public or to cause mayhem. So how do they in Niger State, walk the tightrope without censoring the rights of religious people under Sections 38 and Section 39?
These are the questions. I'll go to Katsina State now, and Rufai, we can tie it all together. We'll take the story in Katsina State, where reactions have trailed the peace deal negotiations between one of Nigeria's most wanted terrorists, Isaiah Kwashen Garwa, with a community in Faskari local government area of the state. The deal was announced on Sunday in a post on X by Zagazola Makama, a security analyst specializing in the Lake Chad region. In the post, Makama explains that for a long time, the terrorists had been linked to kidnappings, killings, and raids across forest areas in Katsina, as well as neighboring states. Reactions to the story have been divided. While some see the development as a chance to restore calm in long-troubled communities, others question the sincerity of the bandit leader, recalling the atrocities attributed to his group. I mean, look at this man out there holding a rifle. He's out there, Rufai, and meeting with community members. And this is the sort of conversations we're having right now in Nigeria. I'll take the reactions trailing this story. This is from an ex-user, wrote on X. Is the peace deal the required justice for the numerous lives that were wasted and are still wasting so many years of setbacks, not only for the direct victims of insurgency and the Northeast, but also for the country in general? Negotiating peace with bandits and enemies who held the entire country hostage for so many days is synonymous with encouraging others to constitute themselves into groups to wage war against the country with the mindset of being granted amnesty after so many years of infiltrating havoc and destroying lives. Meanwhile, a peace deal that was intended to end years of violence in Nigeria's northwest has collapsed after bandits abducted 40 worshippers in Zamfara state. The peace pact had been signed on August 28 between community leaders and bandits in Katsina state. However, less than a month later, gunmen attacked a mosque in Gidantobe village in Safe local council and abducted dozens of worshippers during morning prayers on Monday. Despite the setback, the Katsina state government is saying they support community-driven pacts with repentant terrorists, but maintain a policy of zero negotiation. What sort of contradiction is that? Rufai?
So when you see a society that the oppressors are beginning to have a very free reign, and the people that the government ought to protect, the government can't protect them, so they try to look for deals with their oppressors. These are vestiges of a dysfunctional society. You will have thought that this government will focus on that, but they'll never focus on that. They'll focus on politics. And that's why they were doing elections in Zamfara State, 5 local governments. I can't still process that thing. They deployed officers from Gombe and other parts, military officers, battalions were there. Insecurity, you will never see that kind of mass deployment. You see, because number one, the government doesn't really care about you that much. So you are left in the hands of kidnappers and bandits. You have to beg them for peace deal. And that's the dysfunctional society we live in. And it's that kind of dysfunctional society that breeds people like Bago. That Badegi FM held his feet to the fire. He felt no other thing to do. He said he was going to demolish the station. Thank God Badegi FM didn't call to him. You know how many media stations that have called to dictators and outright bullies in this country? They took him to court and he was repelled. Now he wants to look at the sermons of preachers. At a point, if care is not taken, I'm not saying he has done it, but at this rate, maybe he'll start looking at all the phones and the call log of everybody because he wants to censor thoughts. the best antidote to react if they say you are not doing well is to do well. But in a large regard, in very big aspect, yes, he has gotten some successes right in agriculture, but in trampling of rights and things like that, he has not done well.
Yeah.
And we have to tell him what it is. In that interview, he made many blunders. And please, his chief press secretary should walk him about what they call image. He thinks he's straight talking, but he says a lot of rubbish. Just like what he said in that interview, that Borgu local government is bigger than the entire Southeast. Empirically, it was proven to be wrong. Borgu local government is not bigger than the entire Southeast. Right. So is this not the same man that told his police orderly to slap an imam or something? Yes, and the next thing, his reaction was, oh, he was an imposter. So even if it is an imposter, you say they should slap people like that?
All right.
So, you see, we have a dysfunctional society that celebrates dictators, give them a free rein to rule, to lead, to hurt, to demean, and we are meant to go and say rankadede to dictators. And when you speak out, you are told that you are not patriotic, and they will couch it around religious and tribal lines.
I mean, this is the situation that we have in our hands at this point. We have this terrorist leader who is actually number 9 on the DSS list, most wanted, and he's out there. His pictures are there, and he's negotiating with the community. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. We have a picture of the man
bandit
there.
was given chieftaincy title. And government officials were invited to the ceremony, and they attended it. Is it not the same country where they were giving bandits wives? One state was organizing women for them. That if they got married, they would be...
Oji, look at the military fatigue the guy is wearing.
Come on.
If you dare wear that camel, the military will beat you blue-black in public. But look at him.
Look at him.
Wearing a military cap.
Unacceptable.
It's the audacity and boldness of impunity. That's
bandits and terrorists are criminals.
They are.
They do not deserve jollof rice. They do not deserve chieftaincy titles. They do not deserve any form of negotiation.
No.
The law of the land must be made to follow its course.
Well said, Dr. Abatin. Well said.